August 16th meeting of the Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals. We'll start by reading the public notice. At the conclusion of the public notice, I'll start reading the applications. Your application is called. Please step up to this podium right here in front of us. In a loud, clear voice, state your name and address for the record, please. All right, we'll start with the public notice. Notice is hereby given that the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Islip will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, August 16, 2022 at Town Hall West, 401 West Main Street, Islip, New York, on the following applications at the times listed or as soon thereafter as they may be reached. At such time, all interested parties will be given an opportunity to be heard, dated August 15, 2022. John M. Lorenzo, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, our first application is number 563-22. Mark A. and Kristen L. Dworkin. Permission to install pool patio, leaving second front yard of 6 feet instead of the required 22 feet, Residence AA District. Northeast corner of Shinnecock Lane, number 33, and Timber Point Road, East Islip, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Sal Masulo. I'm with Hicks Nurseries and 100 Jericho Turnpike in Westbury.
Can you spell your last name for the reporter, please?
Yes, Masullo.
How are you tonight?
Very well, thank you. How about yourself?
Great.
Good.
So it sees in the file, you were here for the pool, already approved.
That's correct. You were
Now
here.
you just back to the patio. They must have missed it.
Yeah, I thought I had submitted plans via email with the whole landscape plan, but obviously, and we thought that night that's what we were being approved for, but obviously that didn't happen. So here we're back ready to answer any questions and see what we could do.
Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? The board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, granted.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a pleasant evening.
Next application, number 564-22, Vincent and Diane Ungaro. Permission to leave shed 17 feet behind the line of the dwelling instead of required 20 feet, having a side yard of 1.2 feet instead of required 2 feet, and pool equipment having a side yard of 5.75 feet instead of the required 6 feet. Residence B District 278 cluster, east side of Annandale Road, number 15, 252.35 feet south of Inverness Road, Holbrook, New York. Madam, name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Amy DeVito with Woodhull Expediting, offices at 1031 Main Street, Port Jefferson, New York. How is everybody?
Good. How are you tonight?
I'm good. So we are here to legalize an existing shed. The shed is less than 100 square feet and is 8 feet in height. It is in the side yard. And the reason why it is located where it is because there, as you can see in the neighborhood, these are small lots, 75 by about 130. So when you put a pool with a patio in the backyard and have a deck, etc., you limit your space to place additional structures to accommodate the enjoyment of the yard. So the shed was tucked on the side just to keep it out of the way. Additionally, the pool equipment, which was installed in 2021, was installed 5.75 feet from the property line instead of 6. In my opinion, it's a de minimis request, and really, it was honestly just an error when they measured.
Not a
And I'm happy to answer any questions.
17 instead of 20. I don't see an issue with that. Does anyone else have an issue on the board of 17? Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Next
Good night.
application, number 565-22, Anthony Fanwick and Vincent Fanwick, co-trustees of the Fanwick 2019 Irrevocable Family Trust. Permission to leave pool patio having side yard of 4 feet and rear yard of 5.4 feet instead of the required 6 feet each, and pool equipment having a side yard of 5 feet instead of the required 6 feet. Residence B District 278 cluster, east side of San Rafael Avenue, number 84, 135 feet north of Live Oak Drive, Holbrook, New York. Welcome.
Good evening. Accurate Expediting, Christine Fay, 286A Belmont Avenue, West Babylon, New York.
How are you tonight, Ms.
Good.
Ray?
I'm great. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My clients would like permission to leave their pool patio and their pool equipment.
The request seemed de minimis. It's 0.6 and 1 foot. We see them a lot. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Have a great night.
Thank
All
you.
in
Have a good evening.
You too. Next application number 566-22, David and Julia Kaplan. Permission to establish two-family, family use only pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-419.1, Residence AA District, southwest corner of Locust Avenue, number 1276 and Hubel Street, Bohemian, New York. Welcome, name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Deborah Yelvington, Y-E-L-V as in Victor, I-N-G-T-O-N, of Dynamic Permits, located at 20 Waterford Drive, Wheatley Heights, New York, 11798. Agent for the owners, David and Julia Kaplan. Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening. How are you tonight?
Members of the board, very good, thank you.
So you're here to establish two-family, family use only. It's based on medical. Everything seems to be in order, correct, ma'am?
Yes, everything's in order.
Does
That's
anyone-
correct. And did the board receive the neighbor affidavits of support? The
Yep.
3 neighbors, yep, overwhelmingly
Yep.
supportive of these neighbors that are very thoughtful of those around them and keep up the house very well. So
Sure.
we feel like it's not a change to the neighborhood.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion. For a period. All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted.
Very good, thank
3
you.
years.
Next application number 567-22, Alma A. Lazo Argueta. Permission to establish two-family, family use only pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-419.1, Residence A District, northeast corner of Sperry Court, number 91, and Yankee Street, Brentwood, New York. Ma'am, your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, good evening, the board, and my name is Alma A. Lazo Argueta, and my address is 91 Sperry Court, Brentwood, New York, 11717.
Great. How are you tonight?
Very good, thank you.
All right. So you're seeking permission to establish two-family, family use only. It's based on medical. Daughter lives upstairs, it says here. Everything's in order, Mary?
Everything's in order.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. See you in 3 years.
Thank you very much.
Next application, excuse me. Number 568-22, George and Kelly Tassi. Permission to leave in-ground pool having rear yard of 13.9 feet instead of the required 14 feet. Pool patio having side yard of rear yard and rear yard of 4 feet instead of required 6 feet each, and shed having side yard of 2.8 feet and rear yard of 2.3 feet instead of the required 4 feet each. Residence A District, west side of Merrill Lane, number 96, 75 feet south of Manistee Lane, East Islip, New York. Sir, ma'am, your names and addresses for the record, please.
Kelly Tassi, 96 Merokee Lane, East Islip, New York, 11730.
Thank you.
George Tassi, 96 Milwaukee Lane, East Islip, New York. 13.9 instead of 14. What
Man.
are we gonna do?
Come on,
What
that's
are we
not even
gonna
Sorry
real.
to be wasting your time.
That's not even
Rip it up.
real.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very
We're shocked.
much.
It seems de minimis.
Yeah, exactly right. Gotta get a
I've
new
seen some
survey.
crazy things, but 13.9 is 14 is a little crazy. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a
Thank you
great
very
night.
much for your
Thank you so
time.
much. Have a great night, everyone.
Next application number 569-22, Carrie I. Eaton, permission to leave detached garage 21.6 feet by 24.3 feet, having a side yard of 4.3 feet instead of required 10 feet, Residence A District, north side of Brookdale Avenue, number 1242, 580 feet west of Udall Road, Bay Shore, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Well, my name is Darrell Taylor. I'm his next door neighbor, 1238 Brookdale Avenue, Bay Shore, New York, 11706. I was here so support of him because he just bought this home less than a year ago, and I have no issues with his garage.
Is Mr. Eaton here, though, or no?
I was supposed to see him here. I told him that I would be here to support him and let him know I'm his next door neighbor.
Okay, great. That's awesome. What we have to do, though, just for the record, is we have to call a second call until Mr. Eaton gets here or his representative, and then we can call you back up for the support and have the record clear.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
So is Mr. Eaton here or one of his representatives for 569-22? We can? Oh, no, I don't care. I thought we had that.
Ms. Ryan, do you want to weigh in on the application?
It's 524.
So there's
Right.
no adverse impact on the neighbors, right? Because there is no neighbor. Sir, don't leave. We're gonna vote on this if you want, and then you could go for good.
Yeah, and it's 484 square feet. It's 524. You guys good? You good? Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? We already heard you, sir, so we don't have to pull the record again. Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Despite the applicant not showing up, based on the testimony of planning and support of the neighbors.
All in favor?
Aye. So you tell your neighbor he owes you big. It was your presentation that won the day. All right. You have a great night.
day. Take care.
Next application number 570-22, Anthony and Michelle Leach. Permission to leave driveway having side yard of 1 foot instead of the required 4 feet, front yard occupancy of 36% instead of permitted 35%. Residence AA District, southwest corner of Honey Court number 2 and Walnut Avenue, Bohemian, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Peter Specht, 10 Honey Court, Bohemian, New York.
Thank you.
How are you, Mr. Speck? You can pull the microphone up so you can hear.
Good evening. I'm the pool contractor who built the pool. When he went to get his CO, his driveway was extended by one of my other neighbors, and it was made slightly too big, and we're here to legalize that. The neighbor directly to the side of him, Dan Guido, he's has no problem with the driveway at all, and obviously I don't, and the neighbor 3 doors down, put it in. Obviously, he doesn't have a concern with it as well.
It's 1 instead of 4. We see that a lot. 36 instead of 35. You see up to 40 anyway. In front of your
1% now.
Yeah. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan will take a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted.
All right.
Are you
I'm
back?
all set.
Next application number 571-22, Anthony and Sharon Caballero, excuse me. Permission to install in-ground pool, leaving side yard and rear yard of 8 feet instead of required 10 feet each. Pool patio, leaving side yard of 3 feet and rear yard of 2 feet instead of 6 feet each. And pool equipment, leaving a side yard of 2 feet instead of required 6 feet, and not having 4 feet behind the front line of the dwelling. Residence B District, south side of Veronica Street, number 240, 100 feet west of Coates Avenue, Sayville, New York. Welcome back.
Thank you. Do I need to swear in again?
Nah.
All right. Good evening. So we're looking to put the pool in, and the next door neighbor to his east also has a pool, which is a little closer to the property line, and their patio is obviously less than required 6. The neighbor behind him, they're friendly with, and he has had conversations with them, and nobody said anything that they have a concern about this. All right, we're not putting a lot of patio in. Obviously, we're trying to keep things as tight as possible.
Just when you say nobody said anything of concern about this, contextualize that. What do you mean?
Oh, that's my client right there. I asked him if he had conversations with everybody, and he said they did.
By everybody, you mean the neighbors?
I'm sorry, what's that?
By everybody, you mean the neighbors?
Yes.
You know what, I think for our purposes, since nobody's here
Okay.
opposing it, but honestly, to rely on what you said, to what he said, to what some neighbors said, I would go along that they're not here.
Okay.
That's why
Okay.
that would be a stronger argument in my mind.
Okay.
Just me.
So the pool patio, the pool equipment, so how far is it behind the front line dwelling? It can't be moved back to 4 feet behind?
But it's just gonna be wasted space.
Excuse me?
It's just gonna be wasted space behind it, unusable space. It's a bunch of landscape. It's just using what little yard he has, it's just eating up on it. He's more concerned about the distance off the side property than he is off the front property, so that it can be tucked to the side, so he can have a gate there to get in.
We're more concerned about the code. The town doesn't view it as wasted space. They view it as the law.
Okay.
So it's got to be able to push it back, as our chairman said. Yes?
Did you any, we're just planning, Ms. Penning's vote on this. Yeah. So can you tuck that back a little bit?
When you mean, I just want to make sure I'm clear what we're talking about here. When you mean tuck it back, you're saying moving it away from the street by 4 feet? Is that what
No,
you're
it's
asking?
got to be behind the front line of the dwelling.
It is behind the front line of the dwelling, though.
The call states, Mr. Speck, and not having 4 feet behind front line of dwelling.
Okay, he can move it 4 feet behind the front line of the dwelling. That's not an issue at all.
There you go.
Okay,
Well
That's all I'm
done.
asking. Thank you.
okay.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board, you are,
Right? That's funny.
how are you, sir? Just name and address for the record, please.
Joe Vera, 236 Veronica Street,
Good.
Vera.
How are you tonight?
Hey, I'm good. My only concerns were the proximity to the next door of my yard. My goal here is to reduce friction between like we just have animals, I myself do, and so is my neighbor.
I know, did you say animals?
Yeah, animals. So we have dogs, and my concerns are noise, and I just want to reduce friction between us.
Can you show us on this, where are you to
Oh,
the
yeah.
left or
I
to
didn't
the?
see the plan, so like that.
All right,
that's-
let's
I
take a
want-
look though first on the screen. Can you tell us, you see where it's outlined in blue? Now, where are you? To the left or the right? Okay, thank you.
Well, were you spoken to by the neighbor, the applicant? I thought the applicant's representative said he spoke to the neighbors and they're all good with it.
We didn't speak.
Well,
Well, that's what he said. Hang on a second. That's what he said. Didn't you say that, Mr. Speck? Well, where'd you get your, he's a neighbor. That's why, without even knowing that, I said I give no weight to the guy of a guy of a guy, because I thought it was a little out there and I didn't really put any weight to it. And this confirms why we shouldn't. So what do you say to that, just out of curiosity? Well, why would you say it? Well, why wouldn't you explain that to us? You made it sound like all the neighbors loved it.
Yeah.
Don't let it happen again.
sir, you're on the opposite side of where the pool and the pool equipment's
Oh,
going.
okay, then fantastic. Then
You're
I'll-
on the other side of it.
then I-
He's going to be to, I guess you'd call it the east side. You're the west side of him, right?
I mean, then I.
If you want to, no, he's presenting the pool. Peter's got, and stuff on the other neighbor's side, which has a pool already. Yeah. All right. Anything else you'd like to put on the record? You good? All right, great. Thank you. Have a great night. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion. Oh, you got to move the pool equipment back. 4 feet. Pool equipment?
Behind the front property line.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great night.
Next application number
Thank you.
572-22, Asma S. Qureshi. Permission to establish two-family, family use only pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68419.1. Leave a shed setback 10.4 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of the required 20 feet. Residence A District, southwest corner of Terry Road, number 1146, and Express Drive, South Ronkonkoma, New York. Sir, welcome. Name and address for the record, please.
Nicholas Capucci, Cappucci. I work with Todd O'Connell Architects, 1200 Veterans Highway, Suite 120, Hop Hog, New York.
How are you tonight, sir?
Very good, very good. Good evening. I just wanted to actually submit a change in floor plan that was requested late for this meeting. So we're going for the two-family residence. The change is only with the first floor addition. With this application, we're doing a first floor addition that meets all setbacks and all requirements and all codes. So the change is just the rear addition moving from the rear to the side.
Does that require variance relief?
No, it does not require any variance relief.
Okay.
And
So that's fine.
also with the circular driveway, they just wanted to see it in front of you guys, in front of the board tonight. So that's why I brought it here today.
Okay.
So the shed that we have in question requires a 10.4 foot setback from the front yard instead of the 20 foot. We did a little research. And the shed was put there in around 2013. It's my understanding that the codes were changed from around 2013 to now there's 20-foot setback. The clients did buy the house in 2015, so the shed was an existing shed that's been there since they owned it.
So it was there prior to the code change to 20 feet, you steady?
Not really too sure exactly in 2013 when that code change took place and when that shed was put, but it was in that year. Going back to, Google Maps and looking at the old records and stuff like that we had. Again, the shed's been there for almost 10 years, 9 years or so with no complaints, no problems. We did do all the mailings. No one has showed up yet in opposition. They are in good standing with the neighbors. They can take care of the property and everything. The shed, as you can see, is far set back from the street, so it is very minimal. You can't really see it, even with the 6-foot fence that they have up there.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? I'm sorry, two-family, family use only is based on medical. Everything seems to be in order, Mary, correct?
Yes, everything's in order.
All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application
Here, 3
for
years.
3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next application number 573-22 Beverly O'Toole. Permission to leave in-ground pool having second front yard of 31.7 feet and shed having second front yard of 10.7 feet instead of the required 55 feet each. Residence AAA District Northeast corner of Bedford Avenue, number 687 and Liberty Street, Hopog, New York. Ma'am, your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Beverly O'Toole.
You can pull that down.
Good evening. My name is Beverly O'Toole. The address is 687 Bedford Avenue, Hopog, New York, 11788.
How are you tonight?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. So how long has this in-ground pool been there?
It's actually a semi-in-ground pool, but I guess it qualifies as an in-ground pool. It's been there for over 20 years.
Oh, okay. And you're on the second front yard corner lot. Deirdre from planning, any input? So it's an above-ground pool that's sunk into the ground?
Correct.
Okay, so what we do normally with above-ground pools or semi-in-ground pools, as your case is, we say life of the pool. So if you have to repair the pool or rebuild it, you have to put it into a conforming location.
Okay.
All right? So as long as the pool is good, it can stay there.
That's great.
All
Very
right?
good.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Life of the
Life of the pool.
Life of the pool, yes. Thank you.
I'll grant the application. for
I'll make
life of
half
the
a motion.
application.
Everyone else will fill
Is that a
in.
second for the?
Is that a second? I'm assuming. All in
Second.
all in
Thank you.
favor?
Have a good night.
All right. Application granted.
Next application number 574-22, Jose Luis Camas and Martha Lucia Romero Alvarez. Permission to leave shed having side yard of 2 feet instead of required 4 feet. Leave driveway and patios on side property lines not having required setback of 4 feet each. Residence A District, east side of North Thompson Drive, number 1579, 2,964.55 feet north of Merriam Road, Bay Shore. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jose Luis Camas. I live 4 years in the house. When I bought the house 4 years ago, I made the shed and the driveway.
Okay.
But I don't have idea the proper line is supposed to live 4 feet. I live only 24 inches to the garden, 24 inches, but to the wall, to the shed, I have 32 inches.
Okay, we see sheds.
And the driveway, I made because I have my son he use the wheelchair. He has 24 years old, and my wife can carry my son because it's heavy, and I make a driveway because the back door we have the big the side doors, and she drive it to the back of the house, and she put it in the car.
Sure.
And we go to the appointments. That's why I make a driveway. If I put a 4 feet, a small one, now it's not fit the car.
Okay.
That's the reason I make that.
Okay, great.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Don't be sorry.
And I have the pictures here if you want to show you how
No, we're
it's.
good.
We
We're
have
good.
pictures.
We're
Yep.
good.
We see sheds and driveways this close before, so it's okay. We're gonna take a
Yeah,
vote.
it's close.
Yeah,
No,
it's
no
okay.
problem.
It's okay. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
Thank you.
Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Application granted. Okay.
Next application is number 575-22. Griseris M. Guzman and Jose Gomez, permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68602 to leave awning resulting in floor area ratio of 26.8% instead of permitted 25%, and deck having side and rear yard of 3 feet instead of the required 4 feet each. Residence B District, south side of Juniper Street, number 112, 100 feet west of Nickel Avenue, Central Islip, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Grisaris Guzman, 112 Juniper Street, Central Islip, New York, 11722.
How are you tonight?
Good. How's yourself?
Good, thanks. So you're here to establish an accessory apartment.
That's correct.
You have an an awning that is bumping the floor area ratio above 25, but we see up to 30, so we're good with that. And we have deck, rear and side, 3 instead of 4. We see that a lot. Apartment 678 square feet, driveway complies. It's going to be owner occupied, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a good night.
Next application number 576-22, Marvin Solorzano, permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68602, Residence A District, south side of McNair Street, number 118, 375 feet west of Marshall Avenue, Brentwood, New York. Sir, welcome. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Marvin Solorzano. My address is 118 McNair Street, Brentwood, New York.
How are you tonight, sir?
Okay, just so.
Great, thanks. Permission, you're here to establish accessory apartment. It's 445.1 square feet. Driveway complies. Owner occupied, correct? Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. For 3 years. All in favor?
Aye.
See you in 3 years. Granted. Yep, you're good.
Next application 577-22, Wessam G. Messiah. Sorry if I botched that. To renew permit for accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68616. Residence A District, east side of Udall Road, number 1119, 170.13 feet south of Belmont Street, Bay Shore, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Wissam Messiah, 1119 Udall Road, Bay Shore, New York.
Thank you.
How are you tonight?
Very well, thanks.
Yeah, give me it. Give me it. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
So, yeah. Just a tax credit. So you have a letter that was sent in by someone around your neighborhood that is complaining about the upkeep and some of the tests.
I already took measures of that, and I maintained the property personally, outside and inside. Also, I spoke to all the tenants around me, the front and the sides, and I make sure everything is in good condition. Recently.
Yeah.
But somebody sent us a letter saying that it's not well kept, the property.
That's been taken care of.
I'm sorry?
That's been taken care of. I started maintaining the property personally. Did they specify anything there?
Hang on a second. You cleaned up the property?
Yes, absolutely.
So it was.
It was before, yeah.
Oh, I
And
see.
since
So
the
it
summer
was
started
un-
off,
Hang on. So it was unkempt and now you cleaned it up?
I'm not sure what was saying about not really in a good condition, but as
What
soon as
did
the
you
summer,
clean- If it was in good condition, what'd you have to clean up?
when the summer comes up, I have to go there, remove all the leaves, and start cutting the grass inside out. I think what happened is I have a fence outside the house, and that was some garbage and stuff outside the fence.
So do
on the
you,
other side.
you have an accessory apartment though? Do you live there? It's owner occupied, correct?
Yes.
You just stated on the record that you have to go there and clean it up.
I mean from outside. Outside,
okay.
outside.
Gotcha, because it has to be owner occupied. That's
Yes,
part of
and
the.
I spoke to the tenant, by the way, about that, and I started maintaining the outside of the fence myself afterwards. And I think that was the small issue. Because when it's collected outside, I didn't really notice that it was too much, and it was when the wind blows, it actually goes into his side. But as I said, that's been maintained, and I really took care of it.
Someone is start. I understand people who start. I think we can give it some weight. I filed most of it.
So look, I mean, whatever the board wishes to do, I'm happy with 3 years, but if you want to cut it down, that's fine, sir.
Okay. All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Come on up, sir. Just name and address for the record once you get to the microphone, please. And sir, if you could step aside.
Maybe it's not so anonymous.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Name
Thanks
and
for
address for the
hearing
record,
that.
please.
My name is Alan Warner, WERNER, and I live at 1121 Hubel Road.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm happy to be heard.
Great.
Speak away.
I don't think anything you just heard was correct. Is that right?
Okay.
I've lived there now in my house for 22 years. And at the end of the month, my daughter is, she bought it and we go to closing at the end of the month.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure that this house is safe.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
When was the last time you saw the house, the subject house?
6 years ago, 5 years
How long
ago?
ago?
5 years ago, something like that.
Oh, you don't live there now?
I live there.
Oh, so you saw the house today then?
Oh, yeah, his house?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you saw him at his house.
No.
No.
Oh, wait, we'll get to that in a minute. But- So you saw the subject house today.
Yes.
Tell us about the condition outside. What do you observe today? Is
Somebody.
it well kept? Does it look like
Oh,
he
no,
has
no,
5-star landscaping?
no.
Is it improved over 2 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, a month ago, 5 months ago?
They cut the grass in the front the first time.
Well, what do you see when you look at it? What do you see? Tell us why.
The fence is all beat up. The garbage cans are always out on the street. And what happens is the garbage cans are far away from the house. So the crows just sit there and pick the garbage out. And Udall Road is a very busy road. So the wind blows the garbage all down the street. It's on. And the garbage pails are out every day. Every day.
Well, according to him, the thing looks like it's a Taj Mahal.
Uh-huh. I have a picture of it
Well, now you live across the street,
next door.
next door, and do you see this gentleman there?
Maybe 6 or 7 years ago, 5 years ago.
You mean from your vantage point, in your opinion, he doesn't live there?
No, I don't think so.
But he said he lived there. You don't have to comment.
I was just gonna say, what do you expect him to say?
He is not the nationality that lives there, okay? There's, the nationality that lives there is completely different from him.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you're stating that he has not cleaned up the premises.
And he doesn't live there. Who lives there currently?
If you
This
know,
is some sort of a housing program, okay? I've already called the police 2 times about it, and I can tell by the way they answer the call that they know something's going on with the situation. If somebody lives there more than 3 months, that's a lot. And they move them in with a white van, they get a mattress, they get a pillow, when the van leaves, and 3 weeks, 3 months later, they're gone and somebody else comes in. This goes, only the accessory apartment. The other apartment in the back seems to have the same people in there for a long
so
time.
how many living units are there in that property? 3? 2
3.
apart? Okay, I see.
There's one in the basement.
That would be 4.
Huh?
That would be 4 then.
There's one in the back, one in the front,
And one in the basement. Okay, so that's 3. I got you.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Just so the record is super duper clear, you haven't seen this gentleman in 5 years at the property?
No,
Yes, you have not?
no, I have not.
Thank you. Okay.
You have some photos that you can hand up to us, or do you, I can't take your phone, so do you have like photos printed out?
No, I have a whole bunch of incidents down, but I don't want to really read them off because some of them are pretty messy. But
Okay.
in terms of my digging bullets out of my car, having to call the police to try and stop some guy from smashing a girl's head in with a brick, and he throws it through the front window of the accessory apartment.
Was it fixed?
Oh, immediately. And then a topless dancer wasn't working anymore, so she was turning tricks in the house, in the
Oh,
apartment.
you don't, now stop. You don't know
I
that.
don't. I didn't want to go
Come
all
on,
there.
that, you know,
Yes. But
you ruin
like I
your
said,
own
I'm very
credibility. You ruin
concerned.
your own credibility when you say things like that.
Okay, I'm very concerned that my daughter's taken with her grandchildren. My grandkids are going to be living next door.
Understood. That we understand.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Sir, come on back up. Let me ask you a few questions.
Yes, sir.
You know what the code states when you have a permit for an accessory apartment,
Yes.
owner occupied with the accessory apartment, and there's certain, size,
Yes.
driveway specifications, all that jazz. This gentleman who lives next door to you stated that there's 3 apartments in that house.
No, that's not true. There's nothing there. There's a
Let me
basement
ask you
there.
this. Would you consent to a town inspector going in and taking a look?
Absolutely. Yes.
And where do
Because I
you
remember
live in
last
that
time-
house?
I'm sorry?
Where do you live in the house?
In the back, the back side. And the front side is
Who
in the
else
accessory
lives with
apartment.
you?
I'm sorry?
Who else lives with you?
It's my wife and my son.
For some reason, that doesn't ring true to me, but what do I?
And actually, I'm
What's
also-
the address on your driver's license?
It's my address.
Okay, we have it in the
And
file.
also there, whatever was in the basement that was happened many years ago, and there is nothing there. It is empty. All I have there is just luggage. What happened before that I put a staircase in the inside of the apartment to have access to the basement. It was legalized, and I have it inspected by the town, and there is nothing else going there. I haven't heard any police coming or anything about that. I heard about fights sometimes, but nothing more than that.
Okay, so we're gonna arrange for an inspection.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. So what are we going to do?
Reserve? Let's
We're gonna
reserve.
res-
We'll wait until we get to the
Does
inspection.
anyone else wish to be heard in this application?
Somebody
Hold on one second. Does the board have any further questions? I'm going to make a motion to reserve decision pending an inspection by the town.
Make sure we have the phone number.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so there's no phone number on your initial application from 3 years ago? Just making sure that we have the number to reach you at?
The same number, 917.
Yep,
917-763? Got it.
Thanks, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, next application number 578-22, Cindy A. Meyer. Permission to leave roofed over porch 8 feet by 25 feet, having front yard 21 feet instead of required 30 feet, detached garage, having height of 14.95 feet instead of required 14 feet, and driveway on side property line, not having required setback of 4 feet, having front yard occupancy of 58% instead of permitted 35%, residence in district, north side of Academy Lane, number 17, 369.54 feet west of Tulip Avenue, Oakdale, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please, as well as the young lady next to you.
Sure. My name is Peter Toth. I'm 370 Harrison Avenue, Massapequa, New York, 11758.
I'm appearing on the behalf of Cindy Myers, which is next to me.
Thank you.
My name is Cindy Meyer. My address is 17 Academy.
Ma'am, you got to pull that microphone down. We can't hear you. Sorry.
My name is Cindy Meyer. My address is 17 Academy Lane, Oakdale, New York, 11769.
How are you tonight?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
Good, thanks.
T.S. Thomas. We're actually requesting variances for completed work that changed from the approved conditions. The front roofed over porch has a front yard setback of 21, where 30 is required. The maximum allowed permitted encroachment for a roof over porch is 6. In the residential zone A, this porch is coming out 8 feet and is required to meet the 30-foot setback, which is, it does not. We are asking to keep this porch, which is 2 feet larger than the allowed encroachment. We would not object to the zoning board conditioning the porch to remain open and not allow it to be enclosed or screened in. With the construction of the detached garage was built at the height of 14.95, where 14 is the maximum allowed height. This is an oversight on the contractor who constructed the garage, who has since been fired by the homeowner. We feel the 11 3/8 additional height will not cause a large impact to the surrounding neighbors and is minimum. The construction of the driveway is the side yard was built to the side yard lot line and does not have the required setback of 4 feet. With this, we really checked out the characteristics of the neighborhood. Mostly everybody is going to that actual line.
You have 58% front yard occupancy.
I'm just going on that next.
All right, there we go.
That was constructed, that's the same thing was constructed with the contractor. So, I mean, it's an oversight contractor. Which
58% isn't an oversight.
So we gave up the 40% front yard occupancy. I know the code says 35, but this board, many times I've seen given up to 40% front yard occupancy. So however you get there, down to 40%, you just have to come down to 40%.
We have to come down to 40. Okay.
Everything else seems to be de minimis. The porch never to be enclosed. You agree to that?
Right.
We understand sometimes the height with the builders is a little bit off. We don't love it, but
Accidents happen.
Accidents happen. But the front yard occupancy, we see up to
And
40.
even with the neighbors consenting to,
If we give it to you, we have to give it to everyone that comes in and says, I want 50, 60% of my front yard occupancy.
okay.
And the intention of the code is to not have the front yard paved. So there's not much we can do to that. We give a little extra 5%. So
Okay. And what is your,
however you get down to 40%, you get down to it.
what's your suggestion on getting down to the 40%?
I don't have a suggestion. I'm just the zoning board chairman. I don't know anything about construction.
Just a lowly zoning.
He's
Just
just
the
a
zoning
lone-
board
he's
chairman.
just-
Yeah, you know, Mrs. Myers like to speak as well.
Sure.
I honestly don't have any extra money to hire somebody to break that up. And when actually it wasn't the original contractor that was like, I must have got a little confused. It was afterwards. And I had hired somebody to come and do the driveway. I did ask them if I needed a permit to do all this, and the company told me no, that I didn't need a permit. So I'm just saying, like, honestly, like, how long, like, will you just give me? Because I really don't have the extra money to hire somebody to come in and break this up for me.
We can give you some time. Yeah, are you selling the house or you?
No, I don't plan on
alright.
selling my house.
So-
I've been through so much with this house, please. But I mean, like, if you looked at the pictures, I understand what
I
you're
saw
saying.
it.
We have one right in front of us right now.
Oh,
Yeah, there we go.
okay.
Your house is beautiful. I understand.
You know, not just like I'm saying, have the picture, like everybody on the block, their driveway. Yeah.
Would you like 6 months to, we could give you 6 months.
I'd even go for a year.
Oh, for a year, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Because
You
because
just
like
have to
right
come down
now,
to 40%, and you can meet with planning, and maybe they'll you can cut some stuff out, and maybe it may
yeah,
not
like
be-
I mean, I don't know how it's all gonna work. I hope it's not gonna mess up the whole driveway. I'm sure I'll probably have to break up the blacktop because it's blacktop. So
Well,
I'm gonna probably have to have that broken up.
I don't, again, I don't do construction, so I would not know, but we'll give it up to 40%. We'll give you a year to do it. Maybe you can get it done, you can get it done, but everything else seems to be, I don't believe we're gonna have to take a vote on it and see if anyone should be heard, but I don't believe anything else in your application is that detrimental, other than we can't give you more than 40%.
Okay.
And although your house is beautiful, we would have to give it to everyone. We can't set precedent to the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Everyone already has
let's
it.
talk about that. Take a look at that area, right? You see the house next door?
So you want me to look at it?
You know, I mean, look at that
No, we're
front
looking.
yard.
Like yeah,
Look at the
like
one
I
next-
I took a
Ma'am,
picture.
ma'am,
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to help you here, but if you want to talk
I'll
over
be
me,
quiet.
that's fine. I'll be quiet. I mean, if you take a look at those 3 houses, 4 houses in a row, those front yard occupancies all have to be over 40%.
I think
It's
our,
not a conforming area.
I think our standard though is 40%.
Well, I understand that, but, you know, again, the idea is, of the standard is nature and character.
But we don't,
Nature and character is already over 40%. It sure looks like it to me.
we don't know what the legal, I mean, if they're illegal, we don't consider that, do we?
What?
If they don't,
We-
if
I'm of
that's-
the opinion, nature, character, and nature, character, nature.
I'm of the opinion if they're legal.
Well,
They
I
got
mean,
a zoning
according to
variance.
Justice Whalen, he issued a decision saying nature and character is, as Mr. Nicolia said, exactly what is there in the neighborhood. And that becomes the nature and character.
I don't always abide by simple miscellaneous decisions.
Oh, boy. Deirdre, do you have
I
any,
think 40.
any analysis that might be helpful to us? No, but it might have pre-existed, right? Well,
Your draft-
we could look at previous aerials. Could
Sorry to
we figure
interrupt.
that out? I'm
Is this a
sorry.
2016 or a
Yes, please. Help us out.
2020? So the your driveway, Mrs. Meyer, was built kind of recently because that's a 2020 area and you only had a single car wide concrete driveway at the time, right?
What
Yeah.
year is that? And when did the code provision go into effect for front yard occupancy?
06.
Never mind.
I did it when I got.
I tried to help you, ma'am, but,
Now we failed.
well, no, I mean, you know, the
I
fact
heard
is,
that
the facts
question
don't
on that.
really
Oh.
lay out in a way favorable to you.
Going back
Sorry.
to the mere miscellaneous. Okay.
So going back to what I was saying.
No, I still
earlier,
stand by the miscellaneous decision.
I agree with you, Mr. Messina. I just, but I think at this point, we have to hold the 40%. This driveway was built.
Mr. Chairman, I defer to your wisdom.
So we can take a vote, and then does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Board, have any further questions? Mr. Who's up there?
I'll make the motion.
You made Mr. Messina.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that that portion of the application seeking front yard occupancy of 58% be denied. Instead, grant 40% with a 1-year period within which to comply, and that the balance of the application be granted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Take care.
Next application number 579-22, Wilbur Martinez Sorto and Idalia Rodriguez. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68602, Residence B District, southwest corner of Voorhees Drive, number 99, in Hancock Street, Brentwood, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Angel Aponte, Aponte. I reside at 1330 Washington Avenue, Bayshore, New York, 11706, as the agent for Mr. Sorto and Ms. Rodriguez.
How are you tonight, sir?
Good, how are you?
Good. So you're here seeking an accessory apartment. I don't see the size of it on here. I'm assuming that the size complies, ma'am?
Small.
Yep. 430 square feet and driveway complies with engineering, right? Yep. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Case granted, see in 3 years.
Thank you very
Next
much. Have a good
application
night.
number 580-22, Brett M. Martinez, permission to leave two-story addition 10 feet by 19.9 feet, having side yard of 14 feet instead of required 25 feet. Total side yards is 22.6 feet instead of required 60 feet. Shed having side yard of 1 foot instead of the required 2 feet. Shed having side yard of 1.4 feet instead of the required 4 feet. And 4-foot fence and driveway site triangle exceeding maximum height of 3 feet. Residence AAA District, north side of Woodcrest Drive, number 27, 135.73 feet west of Schoolhouse Lane, Hoppock, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Larry Buscemi for Select Permits, PO Box 679, Mount Sinai, New York, agent for the homeowners. Good
How are you?
evening, how y'all?
How are you tonight?
Well, thank you.
Great.
We're here for 2 sheds and an addition. The addition was actually constructed in 2002 pursuant to a permit that was issued in 2002 and carries the same setbacks as in the plans that were filed at that time. As far as the sheds,
Let me ask you, let's go back to that. So we have an approval for a 2-story addition, 19 by 0.4 by 37.66 irregular. And a 2nd-story addition, 6.7 by 26.4 by 13.9 by 2.2 by 3.10. 6.7 by 26.4 by 13.9 by 2.2 by 3.10 by 26.4 irregular.
That's real irregular.
That's real irregular. So what's the difference now?
All right.
So when they built it,
the difference is 4 feet.
They built it too large.
They built it a little bit too large.
Gotcha.
Not closer to the property
That's not
line,
even
closer
close.
to the street.
Close to the street.
How do they build it 4 feet too large and then come and say, oh, it was a measuring error? That's just not flying for me.
Well, the homeowner didn't do the construction. They're obviously the contractor did the construction.
There's a lawsuit for you.
There's a lawsuit, yeah.
There's a lawsuit. However, taking this structure down would create a tremendous hardship for the homeowner.
So
As
they're
part
not, they didn't go closer to the side yards though.
No, they didn't go closer. It's just
So what they
closer to
did,
the
they
street.
came off the front?
Right.
floor?
But when somebody's issued a permit and they exceed it by 4 feet, what are we supposed to say? Oh, well, that's my concern. I mean,
Well,
what's the point of issuing 4, unless there's a legend in there that you get 4 feet of leeway either way. I mean,
Without
I
a
don't
doubt,
have-
that's true. That's true, Mr. Wexler. But we're here to vary from the law. That's the whole purpose of the zoning board, as you know.
You have to meet the criteria for a variance. And I can't see you meeting a single one here.
Well, character,
And
keeping
I
the
mean, just to be
neighborhood.
clear, you understand the site triangle issue is a non-starter.
Right,
Okay.
without a doubt. Yeah, that's not even to be discussed.
Got it.
So let me ask you something, Mr. Buscemi. I see the old survey back when they had to propose 1- and 2-story addition. And it appears that the only difference is that the side yard was supposed to be 15.2 in the rear corner, at the northwest corner.
Right.
And now this is coming in at 14. So I think the addition was not towards the front. I believe it was towards the northwesterly corner of the property.
Well, not if you
I'm
follow.
looking at the old survey that was
Yeah.
proposed, and then I'm looking at the new survey, and I'm looking at what zoning denied. And having cited a 14 instead of required 25, this old survey right here has 15.2.
Well, I'm comparing the plans that are on file with the building department to the current survey, and I'm showing the same width of the addition.
Hey, can I
And it's
just
a-
maybe,
yeah.
excuse me 1 second. Where's the 14, which side? I
So,
can't even-
so this is the old,
It's not called out.
Yeah, how do they not, how does?
Somebody
this is
scaled
the
it.
old, this is the old ZBA. And here's the 1- and 2-story addition, right? So
Right.
they have that corner is 15.2.
Right.
Right? And now they're calling 14 instead of required 25.
My question is, there's no measurements on the survey.
They
scaled it.
They scaled it. So if we scale this right here.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean by they scaled it. Why didn't they put the measurements? They used a cool ruler.
This is cool board.
Oh,
They did that. What is this?
why does everybody else put lines with numbers?
The surveyor absolutely should have
What
put
is
the
this
measurement.
supposed to be?
Pardon me?
The surveyor absolutely should have put the measurement.
So this is kind of a
But it's-
useless
Yeah,
survey.
this is useless. I'd like to get a survey that is a survey and
It's,
not,
look at the,
I don't know how to use that.
no, you don't have to. Here's the 2002 proposed plot plan.
Okay.
Yeah, but
You
if
can
we
see how
can't tell
remar-
by looking at the survey where the difference is.
That
Yeah.
surveyor, Donald Malm, called out the proposed setbacks as approximately 15 feet and approximately 13 feet.
Can I make a
I think
suggestion?
14 feet is approximately 15
Can we
feet.
get
It's
a
right between the
survey
two.
that's an accurate survey? Otherwise, we're doing mental gymnastics, looking at something from 2002 and then kind of guessing which, I don't know how to do that. And I don't feel comfortable doing it. And I don't know who's the survey. City Mapping Inc. I never heard of it. Oh, they're in South Ozone Park. What do they know? But
Hey.
how do we look at something when there's no lines and distance in the survey? It's not a survey. I don't know what it is. I'm not blaming you.
No, it's brand new. It's, if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
uncomfortable with Mr. Wexler, we'll adjourn. I'll have them modify
how do
it.
we know?
And
I
that's,
mean,
we'll go from there.
I think
I think that's better for
Yeah.
us.
Okay, I have no problem with
I
that.
agree with you.
I just want to make sure the
You
board,
think the person from South Ozone Park is going to come out and actually measure in the field?
Well, that's, you know what? That's not our issue.
that's,
Well, then
That's, no, that
Okay.
is an unacceptable survey.
it's
What Mr.
also,
Wexler is saying. and
it's like
and I'm
looking
inclined
at a
to
bank
agree.
statement, it doesn't have any numbers. in it. Wow,
Okay.
it's in there. I don't know.
bank statements aren't to scale, of course, but,
But they have numbers.
right. It's a full-size survey to scale, but I understand. Just want to make sure the board does have the original set of building plans in the file, correct?
we have the plot plan that was submitted as part of the 2002 proposal.
All right, what about the
Donald Mound was
construction?
the surveyor.
What about the construction plans?
We wouldn't have required that, so it wouldn't be in our file.
Okay, so can I
You can
submit
hand
as
it up if you want.
set
Sure.
as an exhibit then?
Do you think the surveyor even went out and shot the lines?
I think they probably did, but I think now they're just going to go back and they're going to put it in their computer and pull out a number, which is fine.
That's
Yeah, they
fine
can do
too,
that.
but
Yeah.
that's fine.
So it's the same.
Oh, if you can beat that, Joe.
If you read that, the width of the extension is the same as was proposed. The length, the depth from the street to the back has increased by about 4 feet from what was filed. But the proximity to the property line has not changed. But I will be happy to get a new survey
I
done.
think the applicants need a better builder and a better surveyor.
Well,
the
the
builder-
builder's water under the bridge at this point. This was done 20 years ago.
But that's all we see is water under the bridge most of the time. I think
And
that,
it's murky.
yeah.
And their statute of limitations to sue the builder is long since gone.
So the proposed depth was 36.83. The existing condition survey brings it in at 36.9.
Right.
So it's not 4 foot deeper. So you've stated that there was an
May I?
error and they're not complying with the 2002 plans. It seems to me that they are.
They're complying with, doesn't it show 15 feet depth? I have another copy here. Let me confirm.
No, so from north to south on the proposed plan that we have here is, like she said, like Mary said, 36.83, and your survey from April of 22 says 36.9. And then the width of it says 38.1, and the proposed 1 and 2 story addition, 37.66.
Right, but I was just looking at the L, the little, on this, the plan looks like it says 19.4. Is it 15.4? And I'm misreading it? In which case it's in compliance with the original plans.
So it says 19.9 in this survey, it says 19.4 in this plan, 19.42.
All right. Well, there you go then. Maybe I misread it.
Okay, so
So
back to where we started.
Back where we started, so it was done with in
The
conformity. with the-
2002
yeah.
approval said a 15-foot side yard at that narrowest point.
Right,
But Donald Mountain's office called it out as 15 plus or minus.
right.
The permit got issued, you were supposed to hold 15. Instead, zoning has written it up by scaling it
Right.
as 14.
Okay. So they made a 1 foot mistake.
Is that detrimental?
Thanks.
So we're reserving, adjourn.
Well, I don't understand. I don't know if it's detrimental to the folks years ago. You tell me. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Thanks.
Do you see this? So it's only 1 foot on that corner. The front there's nothing to do with the front. It's the back corner right here, so only 1 foot difference. It's back corner right here.
You took a photo of that.
That's all turns out.
And it says 20, yeah, it says 20 years ago. House.
It's only a foot. It's not 4 feet.
All right, let's get past that for a second here.
Okay.
There's no 4 foot in
So it's only 1 foot, not 4 foot?
it. was supposed to be 15 feet, and it appears that it is 14 feet.
14 feet.
But you're certainly right, the surveyor should have called it in.
All right, it's only a foot.
The shed one instead
And
of two.
I think we were misunderstood. I wasn't talking about it being 4 feet closer to the property line. That was
Mr. Chairman,
originally
you're
intended.
just clouding it worse and
Yeah,
worse.
let me just shut
So
up.
why don't you just let the chairman speak?
I
understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I misunderstood you, I think.
So we have a shed having a side yard of 1 instead of 2. De minimis, we see that a lot. You know
Right.
that, Mr. Buscemi. Shed having a side yard of 1.4 instead of 4. We actually see that a lot also. The 4-foot fence and driveway side triangle, we can't do
We
anything with that.
Understood.
So that's going to have to
That's
be.
that's always a non-starter.
I can't hear, I'm
I
sorry.
said that's always a non-starter. Understood.
Okay. All right. Does anyone wish to be heard on this application? Deirdre from planning, do you have any input? No? So no objection other than the side triangle? All right. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
With respect to that portion of the application for relief in the site distance triangle, I move that we deny that portion and grant the balance.
Second.
All in favor?
All right. Thank you.
Have a
I'll
great
good
night.
night.
This application number 581-22, Huayong and Mark Langer, permission to elevate and relocate one-story dwelling to erect a second-story addition, leaving a front yard of 11.3 feet and rear yard of 22.1 feet instead of the required 25 feet each. To elevate and reconstruct decking, leaving a front yard of 11.3 feet instead of the required 25 feet, all having a floor area ratio of 49% instead of the permitted 30%. Residence B AA District, west side of Fifth Avenue, number 20, 61.19 feet south of Bay Walk, Bay Harbor, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Cedric Legray, architect, P.O. Box 261, Ocean Beach, New York 11770. Legray, Legret. The T is silent.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Members of the board. What we have here is a beach cottage from the 50s, which was added on in 1985. It's currently all legal non-conforming. The house recently changed hands, and the new homeowners are interested in raising the dwelling to conform with FEMA requirements. And in addition to that, they would like to be able to build a second-story addition. In talking with Ms. Ryan, realized that the front yard of 11 feet, which is existing, is not something that the board might be comfortable with. I certainly found some precedence for a 15-foot front yard. So if you were amenable to a smaller rear yard, maybe we can find a compromise for the front yard. That is for the setbacks, and obviously we need to address the FAR as well.
We can't amend that, right?
Would you like me to go over that next, or do you have any questions about the?
So I'm sorry, sir. I'm not really understanding. You're stating that.
The existing dwelling has an 11 feet front yard.
Right.
We would like to raise the dwelling and keep the existing 11-foot front yard.
Okay.
At the same time, when the time comes to build a second-story addition, we were hoping we would be able to keep the second floor at the same 11-foot front yard, which I did not find a precedent for, but I did find some precedents for a 15-foot front yard.
Well, what do you find precedent for? I mean, maybe
Yes.
15?
15, yes. Well, I found one at 13, but there are several at 15.1. It's application 118-11.
15, the basic lot line, where are?
Yeah.
Are those 2 floor or 1 floor?
Yes.
Oh, that
If I may, the existing rear yard is currently 22.5. If we were to push it another 4 feet, which would be around 18 feet, I did find a few precedents where the rear yards were as small as 10 feet, 15 feet, so it would be
But you have area in the rear yard to push it back.
correct, yes.
So what are you thinking, is 15 feet in the front yard? Is that-
By 4 feet, so they would reduce it to 18.5.
Can I ask, I don't know if we could do that though, because we'd have to re-advertise.
Advertise it, right?
So, but
Right.
let me ask this one question. I'm not sure what issue, and please let me know. If they're going straight up over the one-story frame house that already has a CO at 11.1 front yard, why is there an issue?
Because that's how the code is, that the non-conforming disappears and needs to be granted again.
I got you.
Also, you're moving it though, aren't you?
Yes, we're going to move it towards the back
Yeah,
of
they
the
move
property.
But I'm not sure that, I'm not sure it's not conforming.
It's non-conforming in terms of setback.
Yeah.
Which
Correct.
is pretty common on Fire Island.
I understand, but the
Right.
second we raise the dwelling, the non-conformity disappears and needs to be granted again through a
So
ZBA
can I
hearing.
just say, we may, as our chairman said, we may have to re-advertise it if we're going to push it back.
Right.
If we push it back at 15 feet in the front yard and whatever it leaves in the back 4 feet difference, that would be okay by you, correct?
Correct.
But my argument, and I appreciate that, and I agree with what you're saying, but my argument is it's non-conforming by a setback, it's not a non-conforming use, right? So-
Correct. It's a legal non-conforming,
Right, by a setback.
well, by the
right?
setbacks,
So-
correct.
So I believe, and maybe Vinny can help me out with this, we, as a board, can, if we so choose to, agree to the 11.1 front yard going up second
Yeah,
story.
the problem is, again, if you're reducing the rear yard setback.
No, I'm saying leaving it the way it is.
Yeah, yeah, you can
Just
absolutely do that.
11.1
Yeah.
feet, like say we agree to it, 11.1 feet, yeah, they build
Right.
the second story. We don't move it back at all.
Right.
Understood,
understand.
but you may not be so amenable for a second floor with such a small front yard.
Yeah. So
what?
But if they conform with height and everything else, like,
but it's
other
going to
than,
be, have that towering appearance. Yeah.
I appreciate everything you're saying, but I don't understand the issue with.
Well, I understand, my understanding of the issue is it's 11 feet now, 1 foot. It's going to be raised, and at 1 story, it's going to be raised and become 2-story. That's basically twice the height.
Correct, yes.
So it's huge.
It's only creating a much bigger
Yeah.
facade, closer to the
That's why I
street.
think
What's the setback for a 1-story dwelling?
25 is the
And what's the
typical,
setback for a 2-story dwelling?
25 as well.
So that's the point. I mean,
Right.
if
That being said, there are many houses with, I'm not.
if the legislative body does not see a difference that would require a greater setback as you go higher, it should make no difference whether he's 1 or 2 stories.
Yeah, but I get it, but in reality, it does. When you raise a house and then you make it 2 stories,
But
it's twice the height.
But the legislative body chose to not make any difference in the code because of that. It may in fact be different. I clearly can't disagree with you there. But the town board didn't see fit to make any provision for that or any additional requirement.
That's why they have the zoning board, and that's something.
No,
we
that's
take
not
in.
why they have the zoning board. That's not.
Then what are we sitting here for? We can go home?
Because it's the same variance at 1 story as it is at 2.
Yeah, but we all understand the practical reality of it. When you raise a house.
So what's the greater impact? Who does it impact and how?
How does it
Just,
impact?
it looks big from the sidewalk?
Yeah, it's towering over, and that's one of the things that we.
But
take
we have
into-
no evidence that there's any impact on privacy, on light, air, ventilation.
Yeah.
On anything on any adjoining neighbor.
But none of us live in vacuums. Plus, it's on the bay.
But
We don't know any-
let me ask you a question, Deirdre, maybe you can tell us. The house to the south, the north, and the house to the south, are they 1 and 2 stories,
Well, they're one stories, but the one to the north on the bayfront has a shed roof, so it starts low on the south side, but it's almost two-story with glazing on the north side. So it's
And what's that setback?
I would have to look, but I think it's less than required.
That's what required. That's my point.
I mean-
My point is if they went straight
Right.
up, it would CO 11.1. I don't see the impact of.
I mean, what I'm trying to do, because we're lifting the dwelling, we certainly have the possibility to try to be less delinquent. I mean, more in conformity with what's required. And that's, I always try to be as in conformity as much as I can.
But if the applicant is willing to push it back and he has the room to push it back, why, and we know that it'll have that less bulky effect on the walkways, why would we not avail ourselves of that?
Because once you say yes to me at 11 feet, then.
Of course, that's why.
You're
I'm
hurting
concerned.
yourself here, man. You're hurting
No,
yourself.
but that's why.
No, I'm just trying to be a good neighbor too.
No, that's why if they're willing to go to 15, why are we fighting it? When we know that aesthetically, it's more pleasing.
You're gonna have to re-advertise and bring it back then.
Can you come back again and?
Yeah, of course. Always a pleasure.
And the new rear yards, you'll let us know what the new rear.
Right,
yard
yes,
setback
I'll
would be
make it.
4 feet less?
Correct. Yes, if we are pushing.
So you can see why we'd have to re-advertise, because that
Absolutely.
neighborhood adjacent to the west
Yes.
needs to be noticed.
And you could come back here with the comfort of knowing that we're all on board.
That Mr. Wexler's on board.
When you cross over the causeway from Fire Island, you know that.
Can we address the FAR this time, or do we want to wait for?
I think we should address it all when you come
All
back
right.
with the re-advertisement.
I don't see an issue.
No.
The FAO.
No, I don't
We
see
must have
it.
precedent 49D3, yes?
Yes, many, and most of it is due to the decking that now is elevated and obviously counts towards FAR, where before it was below the 5 feet.
Yeah, I figured that. Okay. I'm good, thank you.
So we're taking an adjournment or? Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Make a motion to adjourn until.
Second.
When you want the adjournment to.
It would be September 6th. And I'd like, and we need to re-advertise it with the
Right.
correct number, so just,
The day after Labor Day?
sorry,
The day after Labor Day?
The day after Labor Day.
aren't you going to be happy then? Because the crowds will
Yeah,
start to
that's
leave.
Talk about Wind Tuesday,
Yeah.
yes.
They're all gonna stop here on their way home.
Tumbleweed Tuesday.
All right, so
Yeah,
adjourn
that
to 9/6. You can get the information to.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Next application number 582-22, Kai Borner, Ronell Borner, and Maya Borner. Permission to install mezzanine and roof deck, leaving a floor area ratio of 42% instead of permitted 30%. Residence BAA District, west side of Pine Walk, number 30, 235.79 feet south of Bay Walk, Fair Harbor, New York. Welcome back, sir. Name and address for the record.
Cedric LeGray, architect in PO Box 261, Ocean Beach, New York, 11770. Would you
How
like
are
me
you
to
again?
spell my name again? So we're still in Fair Harbor, where we have a beach cottage from the 40s this time, which was added on during the 70s. Everything is legal, non-conforming. And the homeowners would like to do some remodeling inside, including installing conforming stairways, which they don't have right now.
Okay.
And
So you're only in front of us for 42%
right.
FAR instead of
There-
30.
Yes, there's the legal non-conforming is slightly over 30% already, and during the course of remodeling access to the mezzanine, we'd like to have a slightly more square footage available. It would be all interior work, would not change the character of the house from the outside.
I'm assuming there's precedent for 42% FAR?
Yes, and much more than that. Yes, I have many
You don't have
precedents.
to tell us who
Okay.
did it, precedent, you have it, all stuff. Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take the motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted.
Thank
Have a
you.
great night.
Next application number 583-22, Walter and Amy Warkenstein. Permission to elevate dwelling and erect first and second story additions, leaving side yard of 3.8 feet instead of the required 14 feet, aggregate side yards of 18.9 feet instead of the required 28 feet, to erect an entrance platform, leaving a front yard of 31 feet instead of the required 34 feet, leaving a floor area ratio of 29% instead of permitted 25%, Delete driveway having side yard of 1 foot. Delete patio having side yard of 0.4 feet. Delete boardwalk having side yard of 1.3 feet and 0.8 feet instead of required 4 feet each. Residence A District, west side of Sunset Drive, number 38, 750 feet south of Montauk Highway, Sayville, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Good
As well as the
evening,
gentleman next to
Mr.
you.
Chairman, members of the board. My name is Mel Gonzalez, MIG Architect, PLLC, 1050 Old Nichols Road, Suite 200, Islandia, New York, 11749.
And who's
I'm here
the,
representing.
gentleman next to you,
Yes, I'm
please?
here representing the working.
How are you? My name is Walter Workenthien of 38 Sunset Drive.
So
Sayville?
I'm sorry, you done?
Yes.
Before you even start, Mike, I bow to you, sir. You've been handling those kids, and they haven't made a peep. I got to tell you, you got mad respect for them.
I thought you said you were going to say about the crack, because I'm about to crack.
You too, ma'am. I have just tremendous respect for you guys.
They've been great.
So good evening. I'd like to just submit some documentation. We have letters from 3 neighbors in favor of the proposed application, as well as some photographs of the neighborhood.
Great.
Is there a survey hidden in here somewhere?
It's this big plan right here. You know how- Yeah, there it is, yeah.
This is
There
the
should be a
survey.
survey in there, yes.
That's the plot plan.
Is there a survey?
No.
I have a copy if you'd like one.
I
If
just
you
want to make
would,
sure the rest of
please.
the board has a survey.
Mr. Wexler, partial survey.
I'm partial to surveys, yeah, not surveyors, but, so do we have a survey?
Surveys with
doesn't
no,
appear
he
that we
offered
do.
the hand one up to you.
Yeah, how do we,
He offered the hand one up to you.
doesn't everybody want a copy of the survey?
We can pass it around.
I'm not sharing. I'm not sharing with Vinny.
But listen, you go write those unreported decisions.
Yeah, I know, I think that should be nice.
Got to case, sir. Sorry about the
Okay.
increase.
Sure. So the first order of business is the homeowners want to elevate the home. It's currently in flood zone elevation 5, base flood elevation is 7. They have concerns about, future higher flooding, so we've raised it up to elevation 9 of the first floor. In doing so, what they've planned to do is to actually take the first floor, roof intact, make that the second floor, and then add directly underneath the existing footprint, a first floor. In doing so, we have to maintain the current setbacks. It's a very narrow lot. The setback to the south, as noted, was 3.8. There's nothing we can do about that.
Can I
And
ask you, how did it get to be 3.8?
It's an existing structure. It's been like that.
Existing legally or just existing?
Yes, that you bought the house with a C of O.
Yes, the CO since 1942 has been.
It has a CO?
Yes.
Okay.
At 3.8?
That's correct.
There you go.
But,
Well, they purchased the home.
but my take is, it's not the original home as it looked in 1948. It's been built on, I can't imagine it's the original home.
Yep, take a look at the CO.
Everything excluding the garage could be the original. They didn't build garages like that in 1948.
Could have altered the roof line.
Yeah, obviously.
I don't know what this is.
So, I mean, that's not a design of 1948. They didn't do roof lines like that.
I can't comment on the, there is tongue and groove in the attic of and the walls of that garage.
I know this area fairly well, and this house is looked this way probably as long as I've been in this town. Just to let you know that. I'm not sure if it was 1948, but the CO says 52, by the way, for the record, not 48. But,
Okay.
yeah.
What else you got?
As stated, my clients purchased the home with that setback as such. In doing so and raising the home and adding a floor underneath, we're requesting a FAR of 29%.
which we see up to 30, so we're
Okay.
good with that.
The other element that we have to contend with is the back boardwalk. If you look at the photograph, the aerial photograph, all the boardwalks are interconnected from one property to the next. And that seems to be commonplace and character of that neighborhood, not only on Sunset, but also on West Lane. Just seems to be consistent theme. I know that the setback is required to be greater, 4 feet, but that's an existing condition as well.
Yeah, Deirdre, I don't, this area has those, he's correct by saying that, they all do connect back there. Is there any objection from planning with those, the boardwalks? Okay. Yeah. They would have to change the entire neighborhood back
So,
there.
sir, tell me.
Yes.
You're not going to lift the garage, right?
We're lifting, yes, we are actually lifting the roof. The entire structure is going up.
Why would you lift the garage? You got to
Well, for
drive
two,
in from the driveway to put a car in.
you're still going to be able to drive in. It's just going to be elevated. The roof and the walls and everything is going to be elevated.
There's gonna be
There's
living
no need
space
to
in it.
elevate the garage.
Pardon?
There's no need to elevate the garage.
But wait, how do you drive into an elevated garage?
He's just raising the roof
If
on
you-
it.
if you
He's
look at-
keeping it at
yeah.
the same elevation. Right? Okay. Yeah, go ahead, show us what you need. Yeah, we do. We have
No,
the
we
plot
don't have the
plan.
drawing of the elevator.
So the garage is not being elevated.
Just the height of the ceiling of the garage.
You're
is
putting,
the way.
you're putting what, a second story over the garage? Okay.
Yeah, well, that's not one of the factors in the zoning ordinance.
So wait, you want to have a two-story garage so we can work on cars? No, but why do you need a two-story garage? They're gonna be 2 stories of garage?
You walked into it, Mr. Gonzalez. That's a trigger around here.
No, wait, just, I'm sorry. I'm not following much of what you're saying, so let's just help me out. The garage is going to be a 2-story garage. So what's going to be in the upper part of the garage?
Can you just flip that up a little further so we can see it? Thank you.
But what's going to be there? Who has just open space?
So
in the garage?
that's not necessary, is what you're telling
I
me.
mean, I'm following up on what Mr. Messina is saying. You're so close to the property line as it is. To be 2.5 feet from the property line and then have a second floor over the garage, which is just going to be open space, I don't see the reason.
And just to jump on to Mr. Wexler for a second, if you don't mind. The rest of your application looks fairly simple, other than the property line with the second story for the open space of the garage. So that's, I just want to highlight that before we go any further on
Is it
that.
worth putting your whole application in jeopardy?
It's because your property's so close. I know that area very well. I walk past it 3 days a week with my wife, but
So why don't you, why
But you're
don't,
exacerbating.
I'm speaking, I think we're all saying the same thing. Your application looks very doable, except for if you just keep the garage 1 floor and get rid of, as you say, just open space to have light and air in the garage. I think it's a very doable application.
Can I suggest possibly my concern is, since we're raising this house 2 stories, if we were to maintain this at 1 story, it does go over. And if you're going to have this
Mr. Gonzalez, you know our position. You could say whatever you want. You know our position. Okay, make your record and then we'll vote. There's no reason to raise that roof and exacerbate an already existing condition that's
You're 2
difficult.
feet from the property line. The neighbors are going to look at a wall. That's always my objection. They're going to look over and have this, like up in Ossining, where they have the prison wall, you see these 80-foot walls.
And unfortunately, that lot is a fairly smaller lot on that block when you come up north on that.
Okay, you can speak.
I was advised by Mr. Guy Davis of Davis House Movers that would be a tremendous savings for us not to touch the roof, about 40 grand. The roof's new, all the ridge lines match up. And also, if you look at the front of our house now and existing, which will be the same roof, hopefully, when we redo it, there's an extreme pitch on the garage. So that when you walk past my garage now, the gutter is about as high. So it's not going to be as high as the rest of the place.
Yeah, but we don't want your neighbor looking at a wall. That's all they're going to see is a siding and a wall.
I had my neighbor on that side, which is 30 Sunset, 40 Sunset, which is Mr. Jim Folks. I have a letter from him saying he accepts that.
I understand what you're saying, sir, and I appreciate your concern in trying to keep your the look of your house and raising it and saving money. I understand that totally. The problem is the distance on that side yard, and we don't. You can probably even ask planning. Did you can probably back me up on it. There's no precedence for second stories on that side yard anywhere.
It's correct.
At 3.8, right? So the intent, I believe, of the code, even back then, to allow that to be 3.8 is that it will not have a second story, greater wall effect on there. So I don't know that there's much we can do, because if we let you do it, then we have to let everyone on that block do it on those size property lines, right? And then it'll become like a walled-in effect, and that's what they don't want. Or we can just decide with it being one story at the garage.
So Mr. Workentine is okay with one story over the garage.
Okay.
That's acceptable then.
Thank you.
No, one story,
garage.
not no one story over the garage. One story garage.
Just one story garage.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's
The rest
all-
of the house will be lifted, you flooring it, and that will stay at one
Yeah,
story.
the garage itself will remain at one story. Everything
Thank
else
you.
will be raised.
Great. I don't believe anything else on this merits any discussion. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions?
So can I, no, I'm sorry, because
Sure.
you're going to leave me with this decision. They're going to pretend they're making the decision, but I have to write it.
We would never do that.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
So the garage,
Then where do you hear the motion? I mean,
the new side yard setback, then, we no longer need to call it out as a side yard setback of 3.8,
correct.
right?
Right,
But there is a part beyond the garage
right.
that is also substandard.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so that's where the existing condition survey is kind of helpful. Bill, can you just pass me that survey you demanded appropriately? What do you think?
She said you did something appropriate. This is
Yeah.
So it's gonna be
So it's
16,
gonna be
64.6, so it'll be 12.6.
So you did, I think he still wants to go up over this part.
Right,
Yeah,
so
of
that
course.
will be 12 feet in from the property line. We'll go up the second story.
Yeah, but isn't it a 14-foot setback?
I think it's 3.8.
Why don't we do
So
this?
16.6, and then this is,
I think he wants to go up over that.
oh, gotcha.
So
Okay,
I think we're looking at 4.8 plus 3.8.
okay. Okay. So we're gonna, Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Gonzalez, correct? I'm sorry
Yes.
if I messed it up. I guess we're gonna have to give you an 8-foot side yard setback on that rear for the second story. That's what Mary was saying,
Yes.
because past the
That would
garage.
be terrific.
up on that.
Right. Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Does anyone further wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Sullivan? All right, Mr. Messina.
How do you do that? How do you say?
All right, so I'll make the motion.
Mr. Messina, take a motion.
That's fine. With respect, I move to deny that portion of the application which seeks a side yard of 3.8 feet instead of the required 4 feet. Substitute instead 8 feet.
Mhm.
Again, with the proviso that the garage stays the same height, and then grant the rest of the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All
Well
right.
done.
Have a great night.
Next application number 584-22, Lewis and Alexandria Iacona. Permission to leave in-ground pool having side yard of 10.3 instead of required 18 feet, and to leave pool patio having 3.5 feet instead of required 6 feet. Residence AAA District 278 cluster, west side of Percy Williams Drive, number 110, 165 feet south of Percy Williams Drive, East Islip, New York. Mr. Gonzalez, welcome back. Name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Mel Gonzalez, MIG Architect, PLLC, 1050 Old Nichols Road, Suite 200, Highlander, New York, 11749.
Good evening again.
Good evening again. And I do have some photos I'd
Sure.
like to put in for the record.
Deirdre, is there any precedent for 10.3? I'll ask before Mr. Wexler. So that makes sense. And it's a cluster, so that it's a practical difficulty right out of the box.
Yeah, it's just a one little corner in the back.
I don't see an issue.
I don't know. It's just this corner in the back and it was upside.
Yep. Then he asked the appropriate question.
For once.
And pool patio side at 3.5 instead of 6, we see.
Yeah, isn't that heavy
Yes.
paper?
Do you mind if we ask to see if anyone wants to be heard in this application, or you want to say something?
No, what I wanted to say was with the photograph, he landscaped as much as he possibly could on that corner, understanding that,
You good?
so.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next application number 585-22, Michael Maffetone, permission to erect two-story addition, 32 feet by 46 feet irregular, leaving side yard of 5.05 feet instead of required 18 feet, and total side yards of 22.45 feet instead of required 36 feet. Residence AA District, east side of East Bayberry, number 213, 1,958.19 feet south of Elder Road, Islip, New York. Let's see if you can go for the trifecta, Mr. Gonzalez.
Tell you.
Welcome back. Name and address for the
Rough
record,
night.
please.
Mel Gonzalez, MIG Architect, PLLC, 1050 Old Nichols Road, Suite 200, Highlander, New York, 11749. Thank you again. Good evening. Also have some,
Now, this one we have Justice Surveyor.
Good, state your case, sir.
sure. This particular project is a house renovation where the homeowner is looking to increase the square footage, number of bedrooms, and for his family, future family. And in doing so, has proposed to put an addition over a portion of the garage, as well as an existing room downstairs. And the way the property and the home are configured at the moment, the existing garage is 5.5 feet from the property line. And his intent was to take the rear portion behind the garage and just fill that in and continue that up to 2 stories.
So the whole garage goes up to 2 stories?
Yes.
Or just,
Yes, not the entire, because the front is being pushed back a little bit, but the side where it's 5.5
But don't we
feet.
have a similar situation first? It's 5 feet instead of 18 garage, correct?
That's correct, 5.5 feet.
Again, how did it get 5 feet instead of 18? Was that zoning board?
It's a single story.
That, my understanding is that it was approved at the 5.5 feet from the
Well, we
zoning
would have
board.
that.
Yeah, we have an old
Yep.
CBA approval.
How old is it? I mean, it's like when the
Sometime
Dutch
Wexler
here,
was the chairman.
70s.
like 1770.
So I'm
The Dutch ruled, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
who gives 5 feet instead of 18?
I don't know, it was
And,
before I was born.
Deirdre, would you mind pulling it up, because our processing is leaving something to be desired these days.
There we go.
Thank you.
Whose signature is that?
64, Shemmerhorn.
Shemmerhorn. There you go.
1964.
My goodness. See, you don't even use those cases anymore.
Right there.
Shire versus Shemmerhorn.
So, Mr. Gonzalez, we have the same issue as Mr. Lexer was saying. It's a very large extension. It's
Correct.
two-story and very close to the property line.
Yes, I understand that. I do. Similar situation.
Can you just, who was the zoning board?
Chairman
Okay.
Shimmerhorn.
Okay.
Yeah, Dick Shire came on in,
In the
did he?
70s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dick Shire came on in 72.
So now we know how we got the 5.8.
There you go.
Okay.
But it is there and it's legal, so.
There is a need to increase the square footage and the number of bedrooms. They're well over the FAR. Their front yard setback is enormous. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why they probably granted the 5.5 feet, because they came back from the front property line so far.
I'm thinking of another reason. Okay, that's-
Yeah, but I don't understand why they did it, but that's what we're working with.
Let's leave that for history.
Yeah, well, right. Let me
So-
ask you, once again,
Yes,
you want to build a second floor.
that's
Where's
correct.
one floor now.
That's correct.
We can't undo the past, but we can prevent.
Understand.
further.
I understand.
I would be, I'm just telling you right now, I'd be opposed to that portion of it, to even build it higher. I'm just looking at it.
I don't know how we would be able to give you whatever you're looking for, 5.05 instead of the required 18 digit. I'm sure there's no precedent. No precedent.
Do you want some time to try to figure it out, maybe?
Well, it's one of the things that I have been discussing with my client. And one of the considerations that we threw out was the possibility of where the property, or should I say the home, that void that comes back, if we were to hold that line, okay, and
I
perhaps.
don't know what you're talking about, the void,
So,
Right here, this. See this right here?
right?
This.
Right.
So you're saying the rear of the dwelling behind the garage. So what's that side yard?
What would that side yard be
I
then?
can't read it because I don't have my book on.
If you know,
Hold on, I'm looking at it right now.
What does that do with respect to the garage?
Stays at one story.
stays at one story.
The garage stays at one story?
Yeah.
All right.
But
You know what? Can I suggest something to you, please? It's just for my own edification. If you would submit, maybe let's give you a brief adjournment, submit some elevations on what that would look like, because I'm having a little difficulty with it. And mark off what the setbacks would be so that we can really wrap our heads around it.
We do have elevations in front where we put
But not with this new plan, though.
Pardon?
Not with this
Well,
new
yeah,
plan
let me see
you're
those-
describing,
Let me see those
right?
pictures, yeah.
From the front, it wouldn't change. The look would remain the same.
But on the side it would.
On the side, it would, yes.
I can't visualize it. I'm
Yeah,
having the
I'm
same
having a
problem.
little difficulty with that
We're
too.
lawyers, we're not architects.
So, I mean, if you could do that, that would be really helpful for us.
We have no vision.
All right, so why don't we do an adjournment then? You could submit that. We'll give you the next possible date. Is that all right?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, and then if you give us a drawing also, so he can do a sketch, so we have an idea. Because
So us nimwits. like
Yeah, I'll provide
I can
drawings,
figure it out.
elevations, floor plan, rendering if you want,
Yeah,
I
great.
Provide all of the above.
That's all
more so
helpful.
we can look at it, right?
Right, because what I submitted there were renderings and elevations.
Sure.
Of what it would look like, what we're proposing. We can do the same with
That would be
modifications.
fabulous.
So
Thank you
when's the
so
next
much.
adjournment date, Mary?
September 6th.
Well, that was a simple modification. This
So
doesn't
is
sound
this.
as simple. Oh, yeah?
It's a very simple application.
When do you think you can have all the changes over?
When's the next hearing?
September 6th would be
I
the
asked you
earliest
first.
we could do,
That requires. I
but that
have to
requires
have
you
it
to get it in like by the end of the week.
Who would be easier for you? More than September, when's the next one?
20.
How about September 20th?
Yeah, September 20th works.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, make a motion to adjourn until September 20th.
Second.
All in favor?
All right. Thank you
Have a
very
great
much.
night.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your
All
time.
right. Next application is number 586-22, Ronald Falbo. Permission to leave second-story roofed over deck 13.4 feet by 24.2 feet, atop a one-story addition 8 feet by 13 feet, resulting in a floor area ratio of 39% instead of permitted 25%. An above-ground pool having a rear yard of 8 feet instead of required 10 feet, Residence B District, west side of Babylon Avenue, number 60, 90 feet south of Clyde Street, West Islip, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Ronald Falbo, 60 Babylon Avenue, West Islip, New York, 11795.
Thank you.
How are you tonight, sir?
Good evening, folks.
Good evening. So you have a second-story roofed-over deck atop a one-story addition, bumping your floor area ratio to 39%. Let's go to your above-ground pool. That's easy. How long has the above-ground pool been there?
Approximately 2010.
Okay, so above-ground pools, as you probably heard earlier, it's 8 instead of 10. Life of the pool, if you have to rebuild the pool or reconstruct it, it's got to be moved to a
No problem. Yeah, it's not going to survive a move, so yeah, it's going to be
yeah.
getting rid of it at this point.
All right, so we got the pool out of the way. Let's talk about floor area ratio of 39 instead of 25. We see up to 30. Did you any precedent in the area of West Islip for 39? 31%. So this is a roofed over deck. So that doesn't consider the whole rain-through effect, right?
Well, he's got a room underneath it.
Oh. Gotcha.
Do you have a survey to look at? Can you see it?
I do, yep. I see pictures. So my question is, if the roof was removed, there's the deck.
He would cut the FAR by whatever the dimensions there are, 13 by 20.
What our problem is 39% is way over. I understand it's just the roof's over, but it's so far over what the highest we've ever granted is 31.
Sure, I appreciate
So
that.
we have to figure out a way how.
Well, this is I don't know if you understand what this is. It's a structure over a one-story building.
Right.
It matches the dimensions of the
But
one-story
it's
building.
considered floor area.
And it's
ratio.
open air.
Yeah.
It's, wood construction, there's railings.
It's
Looks
still-
like a deck if there wasn't a building under it.
Still considered.
To take any
floor
piece
area
off of it
ratio.
would be kind of ridiculous,
It's still considered floor area ratio.
I'm sorry?
It's still considered floor area ratio.
I appreciate that, but understanding what it is, it's not living space. We
I
hang
know,
out.
but it doesn't have to be.
Okay. So even if you took the roof off of it, though, I don't know if it
Still
would.
not gonna help that much.
It's not gonna. It's gonna help a little bit, but not that much.
Why don't? Yep.
And what's the highest we had over there? 31.
How did it get to the size that it is? That's the problem. Whoever, it could have been you or the predecessor, just kept building without.
Certainly the
permits.
predecessor is on the 1997 survey, which I have a copy of. It's been existing since I bought the house. You let it go through the first time.
We don't know what to see. Do we have, let's see what's on the CO.
The one family addition, wood frame, 13 by 5 by 20 rear. This was at 77.
So my belief is it's been expanded without benefit permit on at least several occasions. And that's how we get this.
Actually, the
I can only speak to the last 24 years.
Sure. Right.
When I purchased the home, the extension was in place, CO'd, it was approved. His structure, he had the same structure above and a set of steps. And I was maybe in the house 3 months. I got a card from town of Islip, remove, repair, replace. So I replaced it all. Everything to code was, hurricane clips, everything you need possibly to get the structure correct. He had, paint red.
But it's too large.
It was too large then, and it
so it appears, sir, from
conformed to the shape of the house. It's kind of bizarre to
the
take half of it off.
from the CO, it appears that it was extended 8 feet.
I'm sorry, you're gonna.
It was 8 feet larger, extended 8 feet larger from when the CO was given. It was supposed to be 13.5 by 20. It's now 13.4 by 28.2. So 13.5 by 28.2. So 8 feet it was extended since the CO was back in 77. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and by 1998, that was straightened out. New building plans were submitted, and it was approved.
No, but there was no CO.
There was a CO. That I
Not
submitted
for
the
that
plan. I
not for
paid
that-
$4,000 for the
Wait,
plans
wait,
myself.
not for that addition.
Well, hold on. So
Yep, for that addition, I was just told it
Let's
was.
take a look at the town documents.
All right, let us.
I was just told by the town it was.
Yeah, no. We're gonna take a look at the town documents and we're gonna
The
figure it all
structure's
out.
not in question. It's
No,
just a
it
roof.
Couldn't have gotten there without.
we actually
not
have.
a board variance. Yeah, but it couldn't have gotten there without board approval.
It should. Right. So that's why we should
Right.
take a look.
Okay, that's a good idea.
What,
I'm gonna, our vice chairman made a suggestion that we reserve decision so we can review all of the documents, all of the records, everything that the town has on this case.
you guys are gonna do that?
Yes, we're gonna
Okay.
do it. No burden on you.
No, it's not a burden at this point. I've been to court 6 times over this, so
I know.
you dragged me out to
We
Islandia
try to-
6 times. I
We
lost
try to
6
be
days.
reasonable.
Huh?
We try to be reasonable.
I'm sorry?
We try to be reasonable.
I appreciate it. No, I appreciate it. I mean, the fact that this has all been existing when I bought the place, I just improved it. To get penalized now is kind of crazy, you know, for my
Well,
opinion.
nobody's penalized.
So we're gonna review.
If
the
I gotta
record.
take
Are we
it
good-
apart,
are we
it's
good- are we good
bizarre.
taking it,
You know.
sir? I don't want to go any further with this. We can take a reserve. What? Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, that's my.
Okay. Does anyone wish to be heard? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we reserve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we're gonna look at all the records of town, all the stuff you stated, and we'll have a
Figure it
decision.
all out.
We'll figure
You'll
it all out.
contact me?
We'll contact you, yes.
Very good.
All right?
Next application number 587-22, Sean and Mindy Lamonica. Permission to erect 2 one-story additions, 5.17 feet by 7.38 feet and 12 feet by 18.73 feet. Leave a front yard of 28.4 feet and 39.33 feet instead of required 40 feet each. Residence double district north side of Seacliff Street, number 315, 100 feet east of Connecticut Avenue, Islip Terrace, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Nobody's here for the applicant. Sorry, I let you read all that. I just wanted to be sure nobody was here
We
from
still
the
have to
public,
read it.
because as of this morning, the applicant's representative asked to withdraw the application.
So that application is marked withdrawn, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
All right, last application for the moment, number 588-22, Nathan and Tricia Livingston. Permission to leave and alter reconstructed accessory structure 24.3 feet by 32.4 feet, having side yard of 2.4 feet instead of required 10 feet and height of 20 feet instead of required 14 feet, into erect roofed over patio of 13.2 feet by 18.1 feet, leaving side yard of 6.9 feet instead of required 10 feet, Residence A District, east side of Green Avenue, number 259, 120.12 feet north of Maple Street, Sayville, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Diego Steisel. I'm their architect and agent for the applicants, Nathan and Tricia Livingston. Steisel.
How are you tonight, sir?
Good. How are you?
Just state your case whenever you're ready.
Okay. Okay. This existing detached garage, originally 386 square feet, was then expanded in 2014. The builders at the time held the existing side yard setback, which was 2.4 feet, which is what it still reads per the current survey. It currently measures 775 square feet. To that, we're proposing a conversion of part of the garage into a pool house, 175 square feet of that existing garage structure. We're proposing to convert to a pool house.
Is anything physically changing on the garage?
No, the envelope is staying as is.
So
And
the
it's
outside is the same, it's just the inside you're altering.
Right, so we'll end up
Okay.
with a 600 square foot garage and then 175.
Everything's going to be the same.
The envelope will stay.
If every application was like this, we'd have no job.
Well, let me.
Okay,
let
go
me
ahead. Now
add
get to the bad part.
So beyond that part of the scope, we're also proposing a roof to cover a patio. Okay, so
And what's the size of the roof?
the roof is proposed to be 238 square feet, which is roughly 13 by 18. With a ridge height of 13 foot, 8.5. We stayed under that 14 foot, with a setback of 6.9 feet. So the 6.9 foot setback is part of the reason that we're here.
So you, just let me follow you. You're going to be moving in off of the property line for this.
Yes.
So that'll make it better.
Yeah, in the back, in the rear of it.
Yes, and I have a copy of the architectural plans if you'd
You're
like to look
getting
at it.
better all the time.
Getting better.
Like wine. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Or like Mr. Webster.
Thank you.
He'll learn to read
In,
miscellaneous decisions one day.
In support of this application, we submitted photos of the neighborhood with numerous detached garages, similar in size, similar in height, and close to the property lines, very similar to what the subject property is. Also, in support of this application, you should have received an email from one of the neighbors, Greg Giannotti, who lives directly across the street, and he was in support of the application.
I find this as a de minimis application.
Okay, yep, I'm with you, Mr. Wexler. I think you're okay, sir. Mr. Chairman?
Chairman,
So
The expansion in 2014.
Yes.
Did the garage have this height before 2014?
No, the ridge height increased because the square foot, the addition was towards the rear of the existing garage, so the ridge height grew to what it is now.
but it's
which is
still under 14.
No, the current ridge height of this existing garage is 20 foot from the lowest adjacent grade.
But I'd have to think in that area, I'm very familiar with the area. I live in Sable, I want to know the record. There's plenty of detached structures with heights well above 18.
My job was actually quite easy. We found a ton of examples, which I submitted photos of garages with,
So we're still good.
and maybe even higher ridge heights
Yeah.
than what my client has.
All these folks are with you?
Yes.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? No, you just want to wave and say hi? Everyone back there?
Everybody wants the ridge height to remain the same.
The neighbors, by the way, the neighbors that are there are the ones that are mostly impacted by this garage. They're the neighbors right to the north.
That's good, because you had one neighbor send me a letter, but it was the neighbor across the street. So-
Yes.
So the person who's most impacted is obviously more important.
And they're right here.
Excellent.
They can,
Excellent.
Adjacent on the sides of the substandard side yard, right?
yes, yes, just
So
to the north.
those neighbors back there, you're saying?
Yes.
And therefore, yeah.
They are here in support of the application. They have no issues. They can come up and
All right.
speak if you need them
All right,
to.
you're
But
good.
No.
You're good.
Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Application granted. Have a great night.
Excellent.
thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, the following 15 applications are considered for accessory apartment renewal for a period of 3 years, and they're set forth on page 5 of our agenda. I make a motion to grant all 15.
Motion.
Motion.
All in
can.
favor?
Aye. Sarah, you have read-ins?
We do. We have 2 readings. Application number 359-22, Jose Cruz and Santos Aurelia Salmarin. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated August 16, 2022, the application to renew the accessory apartment for a period of 3 years is denied. On motion up.
Motion. All in favor?
Aye.
And the next application was heard twice. It was heard on May 10th and June 7th. On June 7th, the board asked the applicant to submit revised plans. They did so, and they requested an amendment by post-hearing submission. That is a very reasonable amendment. They are seeking a 1-story addition having a side yard of 10 feet and total side yards of 28, removing FAR from the consideration and also removing front yard setback. The first call of the meeting asked for a 2-story addition with a side yard of 6.5 and an FAR of 32.28. The post-hearing submission amendment is very reasonable. I would ask the board if you would make a motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. That concluding our business, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.